So this is Myrath's third single off the new album, Shahili. I'm not sure if that's exactly how you pronounce it, but yeah, it's the third single. The first single was Dance, which I've reviewed on this channel. So if you're new to the channel and you've just stumbled in on this video, I have reviewed the two previous singles. So if you're interested in that, you can go back through the catalogue and you will surely find them. So for newcomers, Dance is a song that was kind of like the track Believer off the Legacy album. It was very upbeat, extremely catchy. It had a really good solo. The final chorus had a lead solo over the top of it. So great musicality from the guitarist there, extremely catchy as Believer is off the album Legacy. The second single was a bit mellow in its verses and everything. The chorus was sort of catchy, but it wasn't really anywhere in the same category and par as the chorus of Dance. There was again a solo, which was good. So so far the songs have kind of just been the same as Legacy. It has that same vibe, but just more leads so far. But we've only had 2 tracks, because Legacy, there was a few tracks without a lead guitar solo. So for Myrath, Myrath has always done something new. The first album, Hope, was a very heavy album with a lot of keyboard leads and a lot of guitar leads. It was a very heavy progressive album. The second album, Desert Call, was a bit more kind of melodic and everything. It was still heavy and everything. It just wasn't just pure aggression and things. Still had some great leads, and then the third album went for a bit of a kind of rock metal kind of vibe. It was a lot more radio friendly, a lot more kind of catchy and simple, but still had some intense kind of lead solos from the guitars, and I think the odd one from the keyboard. Legacy incorporated a lot of Tunisian sounds. The previous albums all did that, but Legacy seriously delved into that really heavily. The solos were stripped out a little bit. You still had a fair few solos there, but not in like every bloody track. So a very simple album that had a fair bit of melody to it, some aggression, but it was overall just kind of a catchy kind of rock Tunisian sound, and they kind of took the metal out of it. So all albums keep progressing, and so far with the 2 singles, Dance and the second one, I've forgotten its name, it seems to just be Legacy all over again. Just they've now just brought the lead back, but do I really want another of the same? So with this track, Born to Survive, this is actually different now. This is quite special, because Born to Survive is a very heavy song. It's probably in the lines of their first album, Hope, in heaviness. I don't think they've done a heavy song like this since that first album. This is a very heavy song. Now, it's not aggressive like, you know, intense metal with swooping leads and a lot of aggression and things and a lot of speed. It's just a very kind of heavy sounding, like power chord chugging, and that is kind of it. It's simplistic. It just has a very heavy, beefy sound to it. So it's nice and kind of refreshing just to kind of get something that's not all kind of just melodic or just very catchy and dance heavy. It's good to just get something that's actually very intense and quite aggressive in nature. At the start of the song, we also get some new things. It has an intro until the band comes in. And again, it's a Tunisian sound, but the new thing they're incorporating is they actually have some kind of male vocalists doing like kind of chanting, and it's again sung in this Tunisian way and everything. So it's like hi, but hi, and things. I don't know if I've just been racist there, but that's kind of the thing they're doing with the Tunisian sound, and then the guitar come in and the rest of the band, and it's all very kind of that brutal, just heavy power chord stuff, really bulky in sound. The singer doesn't go back to his Hope style of singing, which was very aggressive. He has a bit of aggression to his voice, unlike that of what he was doing in Legacy in the previous 2 tracks that have been released for this album. But so it is clean and melodic, but he just has a bit of a gnarl to his delivery, just to kind of go along with the vibe of the song. The chorus is catchy, which is now kind of the thing for Myrath, but in saying that, it's still got its heavy kind of vibe to it. It's basically just like, it's not a very clean, very catchy, happy sound. It's catchy and it has a lot of soar to the sound and everything. It's really kind of big and anthemic. But the sound still has that kind of fatness and bulk to it. So it's not a happy type of thing. It is still quite intense. So we still get this kind of new vibe from the song, unlike the previous, like, maybe 2 albums. So still quite refreshing. And in the midsection of the chorus, the guitarist has this very short kind of lead part, which is quite tasteful, and it's kind of nice when you hear it. It's just this really short few second thing in the middle of the chorus, but it just kind of gives a bit more of an elevation to it and a bit more kind of style. The second verse kind of goes on the same, chorus is kind of the same, and again there is a solo. So far there is 3 tracks, so it's still hard to say if there will be a solo in all the tracks, but I'm leaning towards they're probably doing solos in every track now, perhaps. But the solo is sort of kind of repetitive, really, at the start. There is a very quick part near the end where he fastens it up a bit, but before that, it's just kind of a repetitive pattern. And before the solo kicks in, there is them male vocalists that were in the intro. They do a thing which reminded me of Disturbed. It's just that boom, boom, it's just like it's not exactly what David Draymond does, but you can kind of think David Draymond could do that. You wouldn't put it past him because it's sort of his style. But I don't think he's done anything sort of like that, but it is quite close. So I would understand a lot of people maybe making that similarity as that male vocal gang part before the solo kicks in is kind of like a David Draymond signature style thing, which did put me off a fair bit because, God, I'm sick of that style. But again, I can't really hold that against Myrath. It is something new and everything, so I can't really hold that against them. As well as the intro part with the kind of Tunisian kind of chant thing. And then the heaviness, again, we've had heaviness like this in Hope, but Hope was more technical. This is like a heaviness in the style of the Legacy type of album. They've just really bulked that simplistic play style and catchiness, and they've just basically made it heavy instead of making it light, which was kind of Legacy. So it's still in the same style of Legacy, so it's still very simplistic what the band's doing, and not much to it, and not really much structure. But again, it's still just a lot of fun and everything. It's very heavy and aggressive, so it's not as fun. But saying that, Legacy was a very fun album, but also very melodic and some kind of depressing sounding stuff. So it's nice to just get something just heavy, but just the same style. It just made it heavier. And as I say, the solo had a fast part to it, but it wasn't the best. Dan still has that with the lead solo, which was quite long and varied, and then the solo that went over the final chorus. So that's still amazing. This is nowhere in that kind of category. It's miles off of that. The end chorus, again, it's still the same. I don't really think they elevate much of anything. So, how can I put this? Dance is still my favourite just because it is such a fun song and it's so catchy. And then the solo is fantastic, and then the solo over the chorus is also fantastic. Before the second chorus in that song, there is a piano lead and everything, and that sounds amazing. The other track, No Holding Back, I believe is what it's actually called. I wasn't too keen on the melody of the riff or anything. I found it a bit dull. But now with all these 3 songs together, I kind of see, well, you got the really catchy one, and then the really kind of simple melodic one, and then a very aggressive one. So it's like, now I kind of appreciate it a bit more, just because now I'm kind of getting the sense of how the album flows and everything. So I do like that song, but again, I do prefer Born to Survive. I prefer that over No Holding Back, because it's heavy and I'm a metalhead, so I do kind of go towards something heavy and intense. I think the chorus is also better than No Holding Back, because it's just such a kind of soaring, powerful, aggressive kind of delivery chorus. And yeah, I just like the heaviness of the guitars, even though it is still simple, like dance. There is nothing new. It's still kind of just power chord stuff. But I do just like it because it's just a heavier tone, and it's just something new, because we haven't had that for like the last 2 albums. So it's not as good as Dance, and it doesn't have a lot of structure to the song. Dance, the second riff, was completely different to the first. So it's a very simplistic song, and the solo's not that great. But it's heavy, it's very catchy and memorable again. And even Dance, even though it had a bit more structure, it's still quite simplistic in structure and things. I gave that a 9, Dance, which probably was a bit too high, to be honest, for what was actually delivered, because it was very simplistic. The solos were brilliant, and it is very catchy. So it got that high mostly just because it is so fun, and the solo was actually really great, and it is just so incredibly catchy. No Holding Back, I think I gave it somewhere in the 7s, like 7.5 maybe, I think. I can't really remember, but it definitely was somewhere in the 7s, because I wasn't that keen on the chorus nor the verse, but I do prefer that, so that may get up to near an 8 or something. This track I'd probably say is around 8.3, so still a fair bit off of the track Dance, just because that was just a lot more kind of catchy and fun and memorable. And it had a piano lead, it had the lead solo, which was really good, and then the lead over the choruses for this. And the second verse again was still different to the first. This, you get the verse, and that is the same throughout the song, and then you get the chorus, and that doesn't change. Dance, the last chorus changes because of the lead, the second verse changes, and then you get the piano lead and everything. So this track is very simplistic, which is why it comes down a fair bit to that 8.3, just because the verses aren't different, the choruses never really change. You get a bit of lead in the middle of the chorus, but it's really nothing that special. There's no great leads or talent really going on, as I say, for the whole song. All of it is just chords and power chords. It's heavy, and that's different, so that kind of gets the score up, and the chorus is still very fun. The verses are still a lot of fun. It's still kind of catchy. Solo was pretty damn bland, to be honest. Like, I really do like this band, but I must say the solo was quite pathetic, especially when you listen to the album Hope. He is so good, and these days his solos is just kind of like on the kind of simplistic short side, so I don't really know what he's doing. Like, Dance is a lot of fun, but he is capable of so much more. Same with the keyboardist and things, which we haven't had any kind of lead from that, him for a while. So yeah, 8.3. A lot of fun. It is very heavy, so if you missed the heavy days of Myrath, this is kind of going back to that, but in the kind of style of Legacy and things. It's not like Hope, it's just got the heaviness of Hope, but it's done in the style of Legacy. I think that makes sense. So, yeah, a very heavy but fun, catchy song. And yeah, that's it. Has a solo, but not really too great. Vocals, as usual, obviously fantastic, but other than that, that is mostly it, and I think that'll be the final single until the album, which I think's next month, isn't it? They did release the video for this isn't a music video, it's a live video, so you can watch that. The live video is from an upcoming DVD that they're going to be releasing, which is a live DVD. I've seen the live video of this track, and yeah, it just sounds like it's from the studio, so I'm hoping it's just a music video, just with the live thing, the studio pasted over the live video, and I hope if you get the live DVD that it sounds live, because seriously, it just sounds like it's the CD, and then at the start and the end you just hear the crowd. But other than that, it's just completely the studio version. There is nothing live about it. So if that's the case, that is extremely poor. But and a lot of the shots are quite close up. I kind of like more of a kind of outward shot where I can see the whole band is just like the singer or the guitarist, but things going around them, instead of just massively zoom in on them. So there was a lot of zoom and weird kind of angles and everything, so it's not the greatest shot live performance I've seen either. So give what you take. If that's the way it is, then it's not the bestly shot live show, and also if that's the way the DVD sounds, then it is just studio. It doesn't sound live at all. It's just basically the CD, just with a live video underneath it. But yeah, that's basically got nothing to do with this track. I'm just basically reviewing now the video that went with it. But if you're interested, you can watch that, and obviously I've given my opinion on this and the score, so I'll leave it there, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys.